Hey everyone, welcome back to Spoilt Russian Beads. I am Juliet and today I'm going to be showing you how to make these amazing firework earrings which are just gorgeous. I'm also though going to show you how you can make them and use the same design to make yourself a gorgeous brooch, which would be lovely as well. So I think the best thing for me to do is to flip my camera over and show you a close-up of these guys so you can get an idea of what we're going to be making today, and then I'm going to talk you through all the components that you're going to need and guide you through each step as well.
So this is a close-up of the gorgeous firework design that I'm going to be showing you how to make today. It makes a wonderful earrings. It makes a really lovely brooch. You could even use it as a pendant, or I guess if you kind of went both sides, you could make a bag charm, but I've not experimented with that yet, but I think you could have lots of fun playing with the design. So I'm just going to flip it over for you and show you the base. So it's made on something called a sieve base, and if I just leave it there, you'll see this is the kind of sieve base that it's made on. It's a 14mm sieve base, which you'll get from us at Spoilt Russian Beads. They're really useful for when you want to create this kind of cluster design. You don't have to create the tassels on the end of it. You can just create a big kind of ball of beads with them, which is awesome, because we all love a big ball of beads. But I've made mine on a 14mm sieve base. I've then glued one of our flat pad earring backs to it. Now you could make it a bit more professional at the end if you were to either stitch or glue some felt or some ultra suede backing to the back of the sieve just to cover up your work. There's no need to do it, but if you're selling your pieces and you want a really professional look, then that would do that for you. The other thing you could do is, instead of making it into an earring, you could stitch onto the back of it a brooch back. So, which I think is what I'm going to do with this lovely blue colour that I'm going to make in a minute, so that you can make a gorgeous brooch. Because I think at this time of year, when we're all getting our coats and our jumpers on, then a lovely brooch really does finish off an outfit beautifully. And I think these are very seasonal as well, because they do very much remind me of gorgeous fireworks exploding in the sky. So the other thing you're going to need is, of course, your beads. So you will need some bugle beads to create these tassels, which I think are what makes it look like a firework. And I've used our wonderful FGB bugle beads, which measure 4 by 1.5 mil. So they're 4mm long approximately, by around about 1.5 mil wide. You could use a Miyuki, but they are going to be a little bit more uniform, which might not be the design that you're looking for, but you may prefer that look. I've used a size 11 Miyuki seed bead, and then on both of my designs I'm using Preciosa bicones, Preciosa crystal bicones, but I've chosen the matte double AB finish for both of my designs, because I just love that kind of the way you get those flashes of colour of the AB on top of that matte design, which again I think it makes it even look a bit more like a firework, which is brilliant fun. So that's all you need in terms of beads. For your thread, you're going to need a beading thread, ideally that will give you a nice soft drape. So Dura thread will do that for you, and that comes in the white and the black colour. So depending on what colours you're using, then Dura thread will be good for this design. You could use an Eslon Nymo. Fireline works, but it's not going to give you such a soft drape with your sort of dangles from your piece. They're going to be a little bit stiffer. So it's, thread is always up to you. It's always a personal choice really, but I'm just going to give my recommendations there. So Dura thread or an Eslon D Nymo thread would work equally well. And then you'll need a needle, and I'm just going to be using a regular size 10 beading needle. So what I'm going to do now is just clear off my beading space, thread up my needle with a nice long length of thread. You will need to attach more thread as you go with this, and then guide you through each step of the way how to complete this project. So I've threaded my needle up with a nice long length of of Dura thread. I've not said how much I'm using because it really is personal preference. You will definitely need to attach more thread as you go along, so just work with whatever length you are most comfortable working with. But you can see the Dura thread kind of, it moves like cotton, so it's going to give me that nice soft drape that I want for my earrings. So now what I'm going to do is take my needle and just pass it through one of the outer rings on my sieve base there, and bring down my tail of thread to the base of the sieve there, and I'm just going to knot my thread onto my sieve base with a couple of kind of double knots. So I'm just tying some double knots, one on top of the other, just to secure my thread nice and tightly to my ring base. The other beauty of Dura thread is it does hold its knots really nicely. And then what you're going to do is, if I just bring this one back into shot, what you're going to do with this sieve base is you're going to just mentally divide it up into three. So you've kind of got the bottom third, the middle third, and the top third of your sieve base there. And if you think of it in that way, you're going to find it easier to think about where you want to attach your beads. Because what we're going to do is begin by attaching the longer beads onto the bottom third of our sieve base, and then we're going to have some shorter but still kind of longer than some shorter sort of lengths in the middle, on the middle third, and then just our very shortest lengths of beads on the top third right there. So let me just pop this one to one side, and the beauty of kind of making the way to make this look kind of nice is just to vary the length. So you want some longer, some shorter than the others, so you kind of give it a little bit of a random effect there. So what I am going to do is start off with my longer length. So for my longer lengths, I've used 10 Delica beads, then a crystal, and sorry, not Delicas, 10 bugle beads, and then a crystal, and then a size 11 seed bead. So I'm just going to take my needle back through the hole. So I'm coming out of a hole now on the base of my sieve, and I'm going to pick up 10 of my bugle beads. That's 3, 4, 5. You have to excuse me counting here. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. That's 10 of my lovely bugle beads there. And then a crystal, and then just one seed bead, like so. And then what we're going to do is skip out the seed bead that I've just added and thread back up through the crystal and then all 10 of the bugle beads. You probably, because this is quite long, won't be able to do this all in one go. I think the other thing I forgot to say at the beginning of this video is there is a free downloadable pattern for this over on our website as well. So do head over to the website and download the free pattern, because it's really lovely, I think, to follow a pattern and a video at the same time. It just makes life really easy, doesn't it? So I've just threaded up through all of those beads there, except for the seed bead. So the seed bead kind of acts as a stopper on the end of my piece there, and I can then go back through that same hole on the sieve base and then out through the hole next door to it where I want my next length of beads to be. And I'm probably going to do like about 4 this long, so 4 long tassels with 10 bugles on each tassel. So that's 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. followed by a crystal and a seed bead. And once again, just going to repeat that same process. I'm going to miss out the seed bead and go back through all of the other beads there. So that seed bead effectively forms like a little stopper that stops all the beads from falling off the end. I think it looks very kind of weird and spidery at this stage because you've got this kind of odd looking sieve base and then these long tassels and not much else going on. So when I get to the top, I'm going back through the same hole that I've just used for that. I'm going to call these tassels, they're not really. And then through the next hole on my base. Okay, so I'm going to repeat that 2 more times, and then I'm going to come back to you and just show you some shorter lengths so that we get a kind of a different effect going on. Okay, so I have actually put a total of 5 of these longer little legs or strands on the base of my sieve at the moment, because I want a kind of a slightly more bunchy effect for the brooch I want to make. And now what I'm going to do is start moving on to smaller strands. So I'm just going through one of the holes on the edge here, and I'm going to just pick up, I think, just 6 of my bugle beads this time. So that's 4, 5, 6. I'm going to just repeat exactly what I did before with that crystal and that seed bead. And then miss out the seed bead and just go back through the crystal and the 6 bugle beads and back through the same hole that I just came out of. And pull tight. So now we've got a smaller little tassel on the edge there, and I think I'm going to put another one right next door to it again. I think this one, I'm just having a play here, I think I'm just going to do 4 bugles this time. 4 bugles. So you see it's getting smaller towards the edge, a crystal, a seed bead. Take it all down towards my work, miss out that seed bead and just go through the 4 bugles, the crystal, the 4 bugles, and back through the same hole again. Pull tight. So you can see already it's starting to kind of look tapered. Okay, but we're only still working on the bottom third at the moment. So I'm now gonna go across the bottom third here and add in some more shorter lengths of my bugles. And when I get to the other side here, I'm going to repeat what I did with these 2. So I'm going to put 6 here, 6 bugles here, and just 4 bugles here, and then it's going to be symmetrical, because I do want it, although I want that kind of random effect, I do want it to be sort of symmetrical so that it doesn't kind of look lopsided, I guess, when it's hanging on your lapel there, when it's pinned to your lapel of your lovely winter coat or jumper. So I'm just going to go over the bottom third here, adding some more lengths, just varying them as I go, and then I'm going to come back to you when I have done that. So I have now beaded the bottom third of my sieve there. You can see it's kind of beginning to come together. It looks a bit kind of spidery at the moment. So what I want to do is start adding some shorter lengths to this middle third here before we go on to the really short lengths on the top third there. So I'm just going to thread through one of the holes on the middle third, and this time I think I'm going to pick up 1 bugle, 1 crystal, and 1 seed bead. And exactly the same, missing out the seed bead, just going through the crystal and the bugle. And these ones will kind of stick out a bit more. And then I could go through another hole, and I am just keeping this nice and random here. And this time I think I'm going to add 2 crystals. So I'm going to pick up 2 crystals without a bugle and a seed bead. So just 2 crystals, no bugle. Oh, getting my bits tangled up now in the, there we go. Miss out the seed bead, you're always going to miss out the seed bead. Go through the 2 crystals and the hole and into the next spot that I want to add my next beads into. So this is how you kind of create this effect. I think I'm going to try 2 bugles now and a crystal and a seed bead. They bead up nice and quickly, don't they, these? It's good fun. You don't have to think too much about it, just keep it random. Oh, I managed to get my thread tangled around one of the legs there. There we go. So that's got 2 on it. It's going to be really funky. This time, I think in the middle here, I think I'm going to put 3 bugles now. So these, you know, they're going to get progressively shorter as I get higher up the sieve base there. This is why I think it's helpful to mentally divide it into thirds, and try not to get your thread caught around the legs of your first longer lengths of beads there. So it's starting to come together now. So I'm just going to continue with this middle third, adding my beads on, and then I'm going to come back to you when I just do the top there. So I've nearly run out of thread now, and I'm working at the edge of my piece. So I think what I'm going to do is just go back through this hole again and just knot my thread to the edge of my sieve base there a couple of times. You see how I'm doing that? A few times, few knots, one on top of the other, and then there we go. I'll be ready to attach some more thread. So I'm just going to pull those knots tight. You see I've got some tails of thread now on the back of my piece. What I'm going to do now is attach myself some more of my thread. So I'm going to cut myself off some more thread and attach some more in exactly the same way, just by knotting it onto the ends or the edge of my sieve base there. So I just threaded up my needle again. I'm going to go back through the same hole because it's on the edge there. That's where I want to be, and just knot my new length of thread. Some double knots right on top of where those other knots were, where I finished off my old thread there, and pull tight. And these guys, all these tails of thread are going to start getting in the way now and annoying me, so I'm actually just going to use this opportunity to trim them off so they don't start getting tangled up with my work. And I've got a nice long length of thread again, and I'm ready to continue adding my beads onto my piece. So what you can do is, once you get to this stage, if you want to, you can go back through the same hole on your work again and add more into the same hole. So you don't have to only use each hole on the sieve once. You can use them more than once just to create a denser effect. So that's what I think I'm going to do right here, because I just feel like it needs a little bit more pulling it tight, and make sure you don't miss out any little pesky holes as well, because that's easily done. So just keep adding those beads till you're happy with the effect. As I say, don't miss out any holes. If you want to go through the same hole twice, then that's cool. You can do that, add more on. I think the more you add on, the more dramatic the effect with this design. Just remember just to keep kind of gently tapering the number of beads that you're using up as you go up those towards the top of the sieve there, so that you're mentally just keeping in your head that you're dividing it into thirds there. Don't worry about what it looks like on the back, because you're not going to see that. It's either going to be in your ear or on your on your jumper or your lapel pin there. So you will end up with thread on the back. Again, look, I've just got my thread over my work. There you go. So if I just pull this tight, just bring this up to the camera, you see how it's beginning to have that effect that we want. If I turn it over, you can see my thread on the back there. And I think I'm ready to just begin just using one crystal and one seed bead on these remaining holes to finish off the piece there. So this time, as I add on, if I ping my pink one back in, which I've now managed to get my thread tangled around, you can see how at the top here I've just used one crystal and one seed bead. So that's how that tapering works. So I can just go through a hole and making sure you don't get your thread tangled around your work, pick up a crystal and a seed bead and just go through the crystal and the hole this time, just to fill in those gaps. And again, don't forget, you can use each hole more than once if you want to, if that's the effect that you're going for. I think these would look really cool if you did them with like a bead soup, one of our Sport Run bead soup mixes. If you were careful about which beads you picked, you could create this kind of crazy effect, which I think would be really cool. But you could definitely do it with random beads there. So I'm just going to continue now, filling in those gaps with my single crystals and seed beads, and then I'm going to come back to you guys when I'm done there. Okay, so I've filled in all the gaps and I think it's looking really cool, very much like a firework. I'm really loving the colours. So all that remains for me now is to stitch the brooch back onto the back of my piece using the holes in the sieve and the holes in the brooch back as well. You want to think about where you want it to sit so that it doesn't show. So I'm going to kind of put it towards the middle, or sort of upper middle, just slightly up from the middle of my sieve ring there. And exiting from the sieve at the back, I'm just going to go through the hole in the brooch back and up through another hole on the sieve. And I'm just going to have to be careful at this stage not to get my thread tangled in my little branches of my firework there. There we go. So pull tight. There we are. And I can go through, up through another hole and up through the brooch back again. You see how if you pull tight each time, you're going to stitch this brooch back into place. It's going to be a bit loose to begin with. Don't worry. As you pull it all tight, it's all going to zip up together. You probably want sort of at least 5 or 6 stitches on each side. Just keep positioning your brooch back so that you've got it where you want it to sit, where it's going to be hidden behind some crystals there. So I'm going to put a few more stitches in here and keep pulling it tight, and come back to you when I'm done. When I'm ready to, I will hop across to the other side just to attach the other ring there. You can see how you just need to kind of keep looking at where everything's sitting so that you make sure that you hide the brooch back as much as possible behind the crystals. If you do attach the brooch back and you find that you can see it and you're not happy, then what you can do, because you've got still got all the holes on the sieve, you've still got all your beads, you can put some extra beads in place just to hide it if you want to. So don't panic if you're not happy and you see, oh, I can see the brooch back. You can just put some more beads around the edge so that you don't see it there. So you see how might be going to see this one here, so I might just pop another bead in there actually in just a moment. So to do that, I would just stitch through one of the holes in the sieve so that I could attach another bead in that right spot there. So I'm just going to kind of wiggle my needle through, so I'm got the sneezes there, so that I'm exiting where I want that next bead to be. Excuse me. The winter colds have started. It's not COVID, I promise. And you see how you can just easily now attach another bead there, so you can just put some more beads in just to cover up your brooch back if you want to. So I'm going to come back to you when it's all done, and then just compare it with the pink one there and show them side by side, so you can have a look at the different effects and the different kind of ways I've used this design. So there is my brooch all finished. I'm really pleased with it. I think it looks really cool. It's going to look lovely on a black jumper this winter. Just stitched on that brooch back there. As I said at the beginning of this video, if you wanted a more professional finish, or you didn't like to sort of see the sieve on the back, you could stitch, or you could stick a piece of felt or ultra suede backing or bead embroidery backing onto the sieve before you attach your finding. So this one is the brooch, which has got the brooch sewn on, and this is this is one of the pair of earrings which has got the earring finding, which is a little flat pad earring finding like this, which is glued on with some Zap gel glue onto the base. And you have to make sure that you're strict with yourself and don't be tempted to wear them early if you're making the earrings and gluing the flat pads on. You have to leave the glue to cure for a good 24 hours before you try and wear the earrings, otherwise you may get a little bit disappointed and you might find your earring doesn't stay on your ear. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this video. Please do leave your comments below and head over to our website where you can download the free pattern that goes with this, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.